Good morning, class 7. Today we will continue with the chapter Air of your previous book. This is chapter 3. That day we have talked about different atmospheric layers, that is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere and exosphere. Today we will start with atmosphere and temperature. Although we have discussed it that day as well, that is on Fahrenheit scale, the freezing temperature of water is 32 degrees Fahrenheit and boiling temperature is 212 degrees. Whereas on Celsius scale, the freezing temperature is 0 degree and the boiling temperature is 100 degrees centigrade. Let's begin with heat budget. Outgoing terrestrial radiation. You can see this is, although this is not going to be asked, it is like total terrestrial radiation and then incoming solar radiation which the earth is receiving. Thus, the amount of heat received by the surface of earth is compensated by the same amount of outgoing terrestrial radiation. Dust particles and water vapors play a dominant role in maintaining the dust balance on the earth. So the dust particles and water vapor, they play a very important role, and that they maintain the heat balance on the earth. Dust particles along with clouds scatter the solar radiation. Water surface helps in the reflection of heat. Then horizontal distribution of energy. The surface of earth is not heated uniformly. In some areas the incoming solar energy is more than the outgoing energy. These areas are called energy surplus areas, like equatorial areas. Here what happens, that the amount of solar energy which is received is more than the amount of energy which is released, and the exact place where it is done, it is like equatorial area. So obviously when the surplus is left, so that is known as energy surplus. Similarly, in some areas the incoming solar energy is less than the outgoing energy. Such areas are called energy deficit. So from the name it is very clear, because here the less amount of heat is there, so it is known as energy deficit. Areas like polar region. So equatorial region is the area with energy surplus, and polar region is the area with the deficit energy. Vertical distribution of energy. Vertically also the energy is not uniform, at least for the lower part of the atmosphere that remains attached with the surface of earth. Atmosphere of the equatorial areas remains energy surplus, and atmosphere of polar areas remains energy deficit. So this is what we have studied, that they where we have less energy, that is energy deficit area and it is polar region, and where we have surplus energy or more energy, that is the equatorial areas. Heat must be transported from energy surplus to energy deficit. So where we have more, that can be transferred or transported to area where it is less. So two ways of heat transfer takes place, that is meridional transport and vertical transport. In meridional transport, it is the horizontal transfer of heat from equatorial areas to the polar areas in the form of sensible heat. Lower atmospheric circulation and ocean currents play a dominant role in transferring this energy. So meridional area transport, here the horizontal transfer of heat is done from equatorial area to polar area. Lower atmospheric circulation and ocean current play, how it is done, like the lower atmospheric circulation and the ocean current, they play an important role in transferring of this energy in meridional transport. In vertical transport, it is the vertical transfer of heat from the surface of earth to the atmosphere. Only atmospheric circulation, like ascending air currents, completes this task. So in meridional you can see that atmospheric circulation and ocean currents both play the role, and in vertical transport the atmospheric circulation only plays the role, because when the air is ascending, moving upwards, this transfer is in form of sensible heat and latent heat. Now, atmosphere and humidity. Humidity is the amount of moisture content in the air. There is always some humidity in the air. When air contains maximum amount of humidity, it is called saturated air. So, like presently, nowadays we are seeing that humid weather. So, when the air contains maximum amount of humidity, it is called saturated air. Cooling of this air results in rainfall. When it cools down, then rainfall takes place. However, if the temperature of a saturated air is raised, it can absorb more moisture till it becomes saturated air again. It means that the amount of moisture in the air depends upon the temperature of that air. So, like how much moisture is present in the air, it depends upon the temperature of that air. Humidity is expressed in three ways. Absolute humidity, it is the weight of water vapor in volume of air, that is, grams of vapors per cubic meter of air. Specific humidity, it is the weight of water vapor in weight of the air. So, absolute is volume of the air, specific is weight of the air, and it is measured in grams of vapor in kgs of air. Then relative humidity is the ratio between the actual water vapor in the air and the amount of water vapor it can hold. It is expressed in percentage. It is the most popular expression of humidity. Relative humidity is the most popular expression. Dust particles affect the affects the condensation because water vapor becomes heavy after cooling and deposit on the dust particles. The total amount of humidity remains same because it cannot escape from the Earth's atmosphere. The water vapor, while rising above, becomes heavy and cannot rise above the troposphere. Horizontal distribution of humidity. Amount of humidity is not uniform over the surface of the Earth. Some amount are moist. Some areas are moist, like equatorial areas, while some are dry, like the desert areas. Vertical distribution of humidity. Vertically, the amount of humidity decreases with height. To maintain the balance, atmospheric circulation again plays a dominant role. Horizontally, the wind transfers the humidity from moist to dry areas. Vertically, ascending air currents take the water vapor above, but their ascent is limited to troposphere only. So, the water vapor, it moves ahead, but like upwards, but it can only move till troposphere. It cannot go ahead. You can see the chart or gas chart here. That is, a variety of gases make the atmosphere. Proportion wise, the gases are nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon 0.9%, carbon dioxide 0.3%, neon 0.001, helium 0.0005, ozone 0.00006%. Other gases of the atmosphere are hydrogen, krypton, xenon, methane, etc. Oxygen is the most important of all the gases as it is life-supporting gas for all organisms. It is also required for burning the matter, therefore it is widely used for welding. It is administered to critical patients in the hospital. It is also used at high altitudes and underwater for breathing purpose. Its importance is increasing nowadays because of its use in the rockets and missiles. So oxygen is used as life-supporting gas for all the organisms. It helps in burning. It is used for welding. It is for the breathing purpose for the patients, and it is used in rockets and missiles. So there are 5 uses of oxygen. Nitrogen is the largest constituent. It is chemically inactive and acts as a diluent. It is widely used in the fertilizer industry and as a coolant. In medical field, it is mixed with oxygen and used as an anesthetic gas. Nitrogen can be obtained by passing air over heated copper or iron. So nitrogen is chemically inactive and it acts as a diluent. it is first used, and second is it is used as a fertilizer, and thirdly as a coolant. Fourth use of nitrogen is it is mixed with oxygen and used as an anesthetic gas. Now carbon dioxide is used for the process of photosynthesis, therefore is required for all green plants. It also absorbs the radiant energy of earth and radiates it back to the earth. So carbon dioxide is used for the process of photosynthesis by the plants. Then it is absorbed in the it also absorbs the radiant energy of the earth and it re-radiates it back to the earth. Therefore it is called the greenhouse gas. It increases the temperature of lower atmosphere. The amount of carbon dioxide is increasing every day due to the combustion of various types of fossil fuels. There are many other uses of carbon dioxide, like used in washing soda, soft drinks, fire extinguisher. So it is used in the photosynthesis. It is used as radiant energy for the to absorb the radiant energy of the earth. Then it is used in washing soda, soft drinks, and fire extinguisher. Solid carbon dioxide is called dry ice, that is used in refrigeration. Its presence is required in blood also. Carbon dioxide is 1.5 times as dense as dense air. Ozone gas absorbs the ultraviolet rays of sun and thus prevents earth from becoming too hot. Its other uses are water purifying, bleaching food, sterilizing air, etc. So ozone gas, it absorbs the ultraviolet. This is very important use of ozone gas. Second, in water purifying. Third is bleaching food, and fourth use is sterilizing air. Argon is used to fill electric light bulbs. It requires low voltage and gives blue light. Gas lasers also need argon. Neon is used in neon lamps and in refrigeration. Hydrogen is used in inflating balloons, welding, edible fats, etc. So you have to learn all the uses of these gases. I will be sending you the table. Please make that table in your notebook. That will help you to remember the uses of these gases. With this we will stop here class, and we will continue the chapter and finish it off in the next class. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Be safe at home.